Well, I think the starting point is the sort of inherent educational environment that it conjures up. So people see a whiteboard and they see a pen drawing, and they expect someone's about to start explaining something to you. There's the limitless possibilities. You're starting with a complete blank canvas, and your imagination is really your only limiting factor, because if you can draw it, you can explain it. There's a good example of this recently where we've been working with CEA Consulting on a project all about sort of the climate crisis and how the possible solutions to that involve actually trying to take carbon out of the atmosphere. So it was very science heavy, it was very complex, it involved biology, chemistry. On the one hand, you do need to be able to condense ideas into a manageable form. You need to be able to take something as vast as the ocean and fit it into a small kind of screen. But at the same time, if you deploy poetic license too liberally in that sense, you could end up misleading. And so it's a bit of a tightrope to walk, and you do need the sort of guidance of the people you're working with. We are the experts of visualizing these things, but we can't do that without their knowledge. And we're kind of like sponges in that sense. We're always kind of looking to just sort of slowly build from everything that we can kind of soak up and put back out there. I think being able to set aside any sense of a kind of personal creative vision and actually being able to say, I'm going to take my skills and put them into your service is very helpful in kind of building that trust. And I think by sort of making changes and being accommodating to feedback, you can really build that trust where they know that if they flag something up, if they want something changed, you can do that for them. It's interesting because there's always been this kind of false conflict between art and science, where you can be one or the other. And I think what we try and do is show that you can be both. You can have a scientific inquiring mind and a creative artistic mind. And those two things aren't mutually exclusive. They can work together. So that's a big part of it, I think, is being curious, being willing to research, being willing to listen, and hear it straight from the experts. There's a good example in the CEA Consulting Electrochemical Ocean, where we were talking about splitting the seawater into the chemical component parts that made an acidic and a basic solution. And we first visualized this with a kind of chemist, scientist character, literally holding these two beakers in their hand. One of those solutions, the basic solution, could be returned to the ocean, which would combat ocean acidity and also allow the ocean to absorb more carbon. And we did that in quite a playful way of literally having this scientist character just turn and pour that beaker into the scene next, which was actually a visualization of the ocean. So what we did was talking about the wind turbines at sea that could drive the splitting of the seawater. And we actually had one of these spin round and just slice a water droplet in two, and then have that water droplet form the kind of chemical consistency of these two solutions. So luckily in this case, they were quite open to this slightly more playful, slightly more creative way of just reminding the viewer of the sort of main conceit of the film in a kind of punchy, quick and dynamic way. In order to be able to explain something through the film, you need to understand it well enough to be able to explain it to other people. And I think it's very important to be able to condense and articulate what a film is about, and then take that to your team and get them to the level of understanding that they need to be able to take that through. One of the things is, just as simple as color coding, making sure that there's a kind of visual key to what it is we're talking about at any given point that you can always refer back to and you can always use to help foster that understanding with the illustrators you're working with. And I think part of it is, we're very lucky to have many returning clients. And the more you work with these clients, the more knowledge you gain from them of the field that they work within. Sometimes you get a client coming who's a completely new client, but it's in a similar field. And that's an amazing thing to be able to then take that back to a client and show them that we already have a degree of understanding. They're not starting from zero with us. They're actually dealing with people who have retained knowledge through the processes that we've gone through to make these films, which hopefully help other people retain knowledge.